nicht anreisen und wird über YouTube dabei sein. Deswegen mache ich auch eine kurze Einführung. Ich habe das sozusagen mitbekommen. Es soll nicht zu lang sein. Ich hoffe, ich halte mich daran. Eine kurze inhaltliche Einführung würde ich gern geben. Sie kennen sicher das Zitat, das wird gerade immer wieder bemüht und ist sehr bekannt. Das erste Opfer des Krieges ist die Wahrheit. Das ging wohl auf den US-Senator Hiram Johnson zu Beginn des Ersten Weltkrieges zurück. Und ich glaube, in gewisser Weise hat uns diese Frage nach der Wahrheit begleitet, auch schon in dieser Vorlesungsreihe Weltkrieg, Frieden. Ich hatte ja ganz am Anfang bei der Einführung sehr stark den Perspektivwechsel gemacht, also immer wieder sich auf andere Perspektiven und Erfahrungen einzulassen, um sich der Wahrheit anzunähern, die niemand schon besitzt. Oder beim Vortrag von Carlo Massala war von der hybriden Kriegsführung die Rede und die Beeinflussung öffentlicher Meinung und von Wahrheiten gehört seit jeher zu Kriegen. Bei Verena Schulz haben wir von der Rhetorik des selektiven Erinnerns und Vergessens gerade nach Bürgerkriegen gehört und den Ambivalenzen, die damit verbunden sind. Und letzte Woche mit dem Vortrag von Miriam Leib-Brander und Nina Meyer zu Rigoberta Menchú wurde deutlich, dass das Verständnis von Wahrheit und Lüge immer auch nochmal in kulturellen Vorstellungen verankert ist und die Verständigung über Fakten eben nicht einfach objektiv vorliegt, sondern in kulturellen Kontexten stattfindet, diese Fakten geklärt und geprüft werden müssen. Und heute wird also Kollege Thomas Fischer, sein Doktorand Manuel Cardoso und Emily Molinari, Studentin im Conflict Memory Peace Studiengang, uns die Arbeit der Wahrheitskommission in Kolumbien vorstellen. Wir bleiben also in Lateinamerika, betreten mit Kolumbien den Kontext eines Landes, das über Generationen von Bürgerkriegen, Gewaltkonflikten, von Regierungs- und Klassengewalt, der Gewalt von Guerillas und der Gewalt von Paramilitärs ausgesetzt ist, im Krieg gegen die Drogen, oft genug im Krieg gegen die Bevölkerung. Und ein Land, das einen Ausweg aus der Gewalt sucht und dabei auch der Spur folgt, dass nachhaltiger, wie man immer so schön sagt, Frieden, Gerechtigkeit voraussetzt und Erinnerung und Wahrheit, was aber ausgesprochen schwierig ist und umstritten und gefährdet, sodass es also um die Auseinandersetzung um Erinnerung, Erinnerungen, Wahrheit, Wahrheiten und um die Möglichkeit eines friedlichen Zusammenlebens geht, das zugleich den Opfern Gerechtigkeit widerfahren lässt. Der Vortrag ist wieder ein Gemeinschaftsprojekt, deswegen stelle ich Thomas Fischer nur ganz kurz vor und er dann die beiden Mitreferentinnen. Thomas Fischer hat an der KU die Professur für die Geschichte Lateinamerikas inne. Er ist schon seit vielen Jahren Direktor des CILAS, des Zentralinstituts für Lateinamerika-Studien, Mitveranstalter der Studienreihe, der Vorlesungsreihe. Und er hat maßgeblich eben den binationalen Studiengang Conflict Memory Peace entwickelt in Kooperation mit der Universidad de Rosario, der eben genau dieses Memory-Moment integriert in die Frage, wie von Konflikten zu Frieden vorgestoßen werden kann. Er ist lange Jahre Vorsitzender der Arbeitsgemeinschaft Deutsch-Lateinamerika-Forschung gewesen, ADLAF, und weiter dort im Vorstand, unglaublich gut vernetzt in Lateinamerika und ein Schwerpunkt eben in diesem weiten Feld der Lateinamerika-Studien ist gerade auch die historische Friedens- und Konfliktforschung in Lateinamerika und eben verbunden mit der Frage nach Erinnerung. Er ist also ein Experte in dem Feld. Er stammt aus der Schweiz, hat an der Universität Bern Geschichte, Germanistik, Medienwissenschaft und Pädagogik studiert und ich sage nur, das ist schon 1991, 92 zu einem ersten Forschungsaufenthalt nach Bogotá und Medellín aufgebrochen. Also seitdem sozusagen immer wieder und in immer neuen Varianten mit Lateinamerika befasst. In Bern an der Universität von Erlangen-Nürnberg, kurze Stationen dann auch in Hamburg und Mexiko und Heidelberg und dann eben seit 2008 hier in Eichstätt an der KU. Seine Promotion galt bereits Kolumbien und dem Konzept der Entwicklung, die verlorenen Dekaden, Entwicklung nach außen und ausländische Geschäfte in Kolumbien, 1870 bis 1914. Und die Habilitationsschrift, in der Habilitationsschrift arbeitete er über Lateinamerika und der Völkerbund, schwache Staaten und kollektive Sicherheit, 1920 bis 1936, publiziert dann unter dem schönen Titel Die Souveränität der Schwachen. Ich belasse es dabei, gebe dir direkt das Wort weiter. Bin gespannt auf den Vortrag und freue mich auch auf die anschließende Diskussion. Danke, Thomas.
Ja, vielen Dank, Martin, für diese sehr schöne Einleitung. Danke für die Blumen. Now we are going to talk in English because some people of the public understand it better that way. And moreover, one of our presentators will talk better in English than in German. So let's start. And Martin said I will give a short presentation of Emily and Manuel. Emily is from Italy, from Trentino, is that right? And she has done part of her studies in Eichstätt in the program of international relations, and then she, moreover, she started studying also our master program on binational master program on conflict, memory, and peace. And that's why she is a real specialist on this topic, or she became a specialist on this topic. She just handed over, delivered her master thesis, and now she can really talk free, no? Without any charge. And then we have Manuel Cardoso. He is a Colombian, and he came to Eichstätt and to Germany to do his doctoral thesis, and he has done quite a bit of it so far. He was observing the Colombian Truth Commission at work, and so they can provide insights, real insights from their own empirical studies. And me, for myself, well, Martin explained a little bit how I came to Colombia, because I did my doctoral thesis, but I work also on other Latin American countries, and I started with a publication on political violence. It was a collective work on political violence in Latin America together with Michael Krennerich, and there my own essay was about truth commissions in Latin America. That was my starting point. And why do I say that? Because I became aware that Latin America is very important in the development of truth commissions. Some people, when you talk about truth commissions in Germany or in other European countries, they basically remember the African truth commissions, which was very important, of course. But the starting point was in Latin America, and there are more than 10 countries now in Latin America that have faced a truth commission. A truth commission is very important if you want to come to terms with the past. And that's our topic. And how difficult it is, Martin explained in his short introduction. So what you see here, and that's why I chose this picture. This is, well, it's a kind of picturing the 5 continents, and on every continent of the world you have faced and you have had truth commissions. There are many truth commissions. This, shall I say it's a sculpture or something between a sculpture or a picture? You would know you would call it a sculpture. No, he's our artist. You will see that. So this is from the Museo de la Memoria y de los Derechos Humanos in Chile, in Santiago de Chile. And there they had also one very important truth commission. That's why I chose this picture. So what we are going to present right now is 3 different parts. I'm starting with some general observations about what is a truth commissions, what is truth in truth commissions, and how they became so important. Because it's well, as historians, and we are all historians, the first time, by the way, in this cycle, we would say it's a recent development. No, it's a development of 40 years now, that when we started with truth commissions. And then we step in deeper, and Manuel will give us some insight into the Colombian truth commissions, and well, from different perspectives, and with, as I heard, with some exercises with you. And then Emily will give you an insight into her empirical study, which is a local study, no? And there you see, maybe together with Emily, the Truth Commission at work. No, that's what's going to happen now. And I will start with the context where Truth Commission started their career, I would say. It is important to say that Truth Commissions are not at the beginning, they were not a theoretically based concept. Truth commissions came out of practice because people and politicians and different agents in public space wanted to do something and wanted to deal with the past and to give it a public meaning. That was the starting point of truth commissions, and this was connected with something which later was called transitional justice. Nowadays we say truth commissions can't be separated from transitional justice, but transitional justice is a way of approaching the past, and in a transitional way when more authoritarian regimes or societies with civil wars try to convert what they have been before into a more, Martin called it, sustainable state of development. No? And moreover, there is no universally accepted definition of what is transitional justice. Transitional justice is a field and a label for activists and a rising scientific community that address violent past in order to come to terms with it and to construct a better future. This started in the 1980s, not before. Since the end of the 1980s, we call that transitional justice. So within the starting point was within the Cold War, but at the end of the Cold War, we were all thinking, well, my generation was thinking, now we are going to a better future, no? And something is going to happen, and more we will have a world of democracy, and with participation of all social groups. This didn't happen, of course, but this process was accompanied by thinking about the past and concepts to come to terms with the past. And, well, we had more than 30 democratic transitions since the 1980s, at least that, no? And what else should I say when we talk about transitional justice? That there is interaction of different activists who want to push forward this kind of processes, lawyers, legal scholars, politicians, journalists, and comparative politics experts concerned with human rights and democracy. And the instruments for them are criminal prosecution, so processes to punish the perpetrators, and truth-seeking, which would be basically the truth commissions. And then we have other instruments like restitution, reparation, lustration, and very important institutional reforms, such of the security forces and judiciary. But the most important parts and aspects of transitional justice are criminal prosecution and truth-seeking. So as to truth-seeking, I just wanted to show you some pictures to make it clear what I mean. So one of the first truth commission was the commission in Argentina after the dictatorship of Argentina between 1976 and 1983, and this commission was at work just for 1 year. And here on the picture you see Ernesto Sabato, the man with the dark glasses, and Raúl Alfonsín, the president of Argentina, the democratically elected president of Argentina, the first after the fall of the dictatorship. And he has in his hand a lot of paper, and that is the final report. That is one of the criteria of the truth commissions. They are studying what has happened, and then they try to put it together into a final report, and this final report is delivered and handed over to the public in an official a kind of ritual, no? Which is transmitted by television and other kinds of media. And this, you see at work the commissioners sitting here. Many men, but also some women, were taking part of this commission, and this was the final report, Nunca Más, and this became a kind of symbol. Nunca Más means never again, no? So it's not only to come to terms with the past and to tell people what has happened, but also to give the people or provide an opportunity to change its own consciousness about what they want, no? Facing the past. That was the significance. And Argentina became a kind of, some people, as my colleague Krenz in Argentina say, it became a model. I wouldn't say it became a model, but it became a point of reference for other truth commissions, and that was one of the next truth commissions in South Africa. Here you see two very important people, Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela. And Desmond Tutu was the head of the South African Truth Commission, and also a kind of ceremony. And another important word, reconciliation. That's what you want. You want to support society to get to a reconciliation. No? Another one was in Peru. You see here Salomon Lerner from one of our... Yeah? With this one.
Ja, Sie können das nehmen.
Oder das, ja.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. You see on this picture Salomon Lerner. He was the rector of the Pontificia Universidad Católica of Lima. It's a partner university of our university, and he was the leader of this Truth Commission, once again with the final reports. A lot of paper, as you see, being published and handed over to the acting president of Peru, Toledo, then. And again, on this picture, you see the commission at work, and what is very important, another aspect, what these commissioners are doing, they are listening. They're listening to the people, what they have to tell. That's most important, not only for the people, but also for the people studying, because sometimes they didn't know these events and massacres and whatever has happened. So it's an aspect of local hearing, what you can see on this picture. The next picture, and it's the last one, and it's one of the most recent examples of truth commissions, is the Colombian one. That's why we chose the Colombian example, with a ceremony 2022, and also a presentation of the final report with Francisco de Roo, also an academic and Franciscan of the Pontificia Universidad de Bogotá, and so we see that church is sometimes quite well represented in these truth commissions, because one suggests that they have knowledge, not only in what about establish what is truth, but also in terms of reconciliation processes. But what is truth? Truth remains unclear in many ways, but truth and memory are important, and society is an arena of, I would say, of struggle, in which many actors with conflicting or just different interpretations of the past struggle to foster their own memories. Elizabeth Helin, an Argentinian sociologist, says that after civil wars, after dictatorships, the conflict goes on. Maybe not with physical violence, but it goes on in your own heads. There are different interpretations why it became to the civil war, or why it became why a dictatorship was established. And these actors, these agents still are alive after democratic transitions. No? That's why it is so important to really establish what has happened in an official way. So what changes then in a transitional justice process is that new actors, democratically actors probably, are willing to come to terms with the past and are willing to publish and to communicate to people what has happened. No? This is the real change. And the struggle in society goes on. In the meantime, this will be the topic of Manuel in his expositions. No? So truth commissions have their own truth. No? Outside of the truth commission, there might be other truths, different in interpretations, and they will use mass media, they will use their power to use the public sphere to influence people and the making of opinions. No? And finally, we have truth, not finally, then we have truth in justice system. This is a different kind of truth. They have to find in a very short time what they say it is the truth, and this will be the base to come to a juridically defined criteria. No? That's the juridical truth. It's somehow different because the meaning, because the function is a different one. And then, in the public sphere, in the public system, truth is a mean to close a cycle of politics, probably. No? And then we have truth in history, and this is so important because we say, as historians, we will also insert into this discussion. And what we are going to do is reconstructing historical truth from a temporal distant perspective. This is important. Temporally distant perspective. No? That's what historians are going to do, and they are reassembling facts, what they call facts. Now, a fact is never a fact, but they call it a fact in order to work with it, with different sources, that's important, and different perspectives. No? Martin told us about this. It is important to reassemble them, and then you can make your own opinion about what has happened. And as historians, as Manuel and me, for instance, we work many years after the things that happened, and even when the Truth Commission has closed its own work, because we say, okay, it's an unfinished process, and from a distant point of view, maybe we can make an easier judgment or a different judgment. No? That's the role of historians in this process. Now, this is my final observation. So finally, what is a Truth Commission? It is a body limited in time, limited as a group of persons representing different segments of society, including normally representatives of victims, no? of social movements. So they have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 years, no more time, and in this time they have to find what they say it is, the truth about the past, what has happened. And we have people from representing different groups of society. That's important. No? It's not only specialists of, let's say, law, or let's say anthropology. We have always different perspectives resembled in a truth commission. Then the second point is, it is appointed by democratic governments. At least it should be appointed by democratic governments within a juridical framework. So they don't invent new laws or something like that. It is a given juridical framework that is important, and this provides legitimacy for what they are going to do, because a truth commission is independent. Once it starts its work, it should be independent. There is no government that should say, oh, you have to do that and that and that. Once they start their work, they should be autonomous in their work. No? Okay, what else? It is important that they will develop their own methodology. Manuel will go to talk about this point as well. And they will also decide, they take decisions, they decide what topics will be given preference, where they work in the country, but which are the offices where they work too. No? And this on a local, national, and maybe even international level. Who is going to be heard? How participation can be made sure? How testimonies are classified and eventually be issued later, and so on. So they take many very important decisions in these truth commissions, and they have to find a kind of consensus about themselves, no? How they take these decisions. It's not so easy. Then normally they have public hearings, we have seen that. They are also communicating with and through government, mass media and social media. So it's not only a closed body, probably they try to evade interference from outside, but they want to make transparent what they are going to do, and they want to communicate their findings. No? And when they listen to basically to victims, they are also using other kinds of instruments, and we will hear about this by the contribution of Emily. And they have a special focus on victims, which needs a professional way of approaching them. That's not so easy. So they are experts on this way of dealing with the past. Then, most important, a final report will be written, and this final report normally is more than 100 pages. It's more than 1,000 pages. Most of them are more than 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 pages long. So there's a lot of paper to be read afterwards. No? And they provide a kind of narrative, an interpretation about history, because they want to provide public a kind of official history. It's very difficult to talk about official history, but it might be a kind of official history, although normally it won't be accepted by many people, no? This kind of official interpretation. And this is my own opinion, and that's why I said it should be. I wouldn't say it's always the case, but it should be a part of a longer process, because they make recommendations, and these recommendations should be implemented, as measures, and to make or to give the peace process a sustainable impulse. So that's what I have to say at the moment, and I would like to give the microphone now to Manuel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fischer. Thank you very much, Dr. Martin, for your introduction, and thank you for the invitation. Thank you, every single one of you, for being here. And I would like to extend greetings to the people that is connected in the platforms. And before I start with my intervention, I would like to do a collective exercise with you tonight. I have here a painting that I would like to show you the painting, and I would like to do something for me before I show you the painting. You will have 30 seconds to see this picture that I make for you, because I like you very much. And then this picture is gonna, the exercise is meant to theatralize or performance the social phenomenon that I'm studying. That is this struggle for truth, a struggle for memory when we have a violent past. And then I would like you to ask you to close your eyes. When I close your eye, all of you, please. And then I unreveal the pictures. You will have the 30 seconds to observe, very detained, to observe very well the picture. You can open your eyes, and I will count mentally 30 seconds. You show this, you see it, observe it, try to memorize the picture.
Does everybody see it?
Maybe here you can see it better. Try to keep the picture in your mind, memorize it. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over, and then I'm gonna ask you to share with the person next to you, the right-hand side, the memory that keep the most in your mind. This strong memory that is inside your head, the first thing that you remember. I don't want you to elaborate something. I just want you to express in one, maximum 2 words what you have seen. Okay? You have a couple of seconds to share with the person next to you. You can sit here, Dr. Martin. Remember, just 1 or 2 words, the most stronger recall that you have for the picture. Okay. Okay. And now I would like to ask you, which one of you have exactly the same memory about the painting? Raise your hand. This, you too, very well, congratulations. You see, the rest of the, like 99% of the room here, you didn't have the same memory, the same recall of the picture, even though the picture was the same picture. All of you see the same picture, the same painting, but everyone here remember different. This is the real problem here. When we try to build a collective memory, even it become even worse when we have a past that is full of violence and human rights violations. With traumatic memory, this exercise is even more difficult. This is the thing that Truth Commission deal with traumatic memory. And then this picture represent memory. Let's play that you are the society, I am the state. And I'm telling you that now that memory is fragmentary. It's like a broken glass, like a broken mirror. That it can be chaotic when it's violent, like this black dirt here upon the painting. But also, memory become experience. Experience make our identity, like a fingerprint. Our identity is this one. They make us something. They make us a society. They make us a country with the national anthem, with a flag, with cultural similarities. The same language, same religion, sometimes very different, but we keep together through identity. But the identity is dynamic. It's move very fast during time. And then I'm gonna put the painting behind me. I don't want the painting to intervene with your view and my beautiful PowerPoint I prepared for you. and today I'm going to talk about the dispute of history, the recent history, the struggle for truth and post-peace agreement in Colombia. Since 2016, the government of Juan Manuel Santos signed a peace with the guerrilla, the oldest guerrilla group in the continent, and till the last year, the Truth Commission handed over the final report to the society, the Colombian society. And but the Truth Commission started working in 2019 and began this process with four main objectives: clarification, coexistence. They don't use the word that many commissions have used, that is reconciliation. They use coexistence. Recognition of victims and also recognition of perpetrators. And non-repetition. We will see how this develops. I have been following the process since the very beginning, and I have interviewed members inside the Truth Commission in a local and national level, but also I have interviewed actors of the conflict, paramilitaries, militaries, former guerrilla fighters, and also civilians. And the thing is, every single one of them have a different perspective of what happened. And also, I have my data. I collect data for the very beginning of the process, mainly the most important newspapers in the country: El Espectador, El Tiempo, also magazines like Revista Semana, very popular magazine in Colombia. And also I collect data from web pages that express the right-wing position about the process, like Linterna Azul, Los Irreverentes, all of them very right-wing, because I find out that the attack and the criticism come from this part of the country that is represented by Centro Democrático political party, and the organic head is Álvaro Uribe Vélez, former president of Colombia. So I would like to show you what I have found out so far. And I will show you the tensions among these groups. And I divided these tensions in two scenarios. One scenario is an internal scenario that represent the Truth Commission itself within the Truth Commission, because we cannot think that they were totally agree and the consensus. Yes, the consensus was the meta-narrative, but the thing is there were some tensions among them, not just the commissioner themselves, but among the national level headquarters, HQ, and the territorial scenario. And also the external, that outside the Truth Commission, collectively and individually, I find differences of opinion, of agendas, of memory and truth, but also attacks, misinformation, manipulation, and through boots, through, we call it bodeguitas, but this collective group that work in social media to manipulate the information. And I find out so far 15 tensions in these two scenarios. But today I would like to talk about I consider the main ones. In the internal level, we find the methodological tensions. And methodology is one of the variables that create more tension within the Truth Commission. Firstly, because the guy in charge of this was Alfredo Molano, a very, very popular sociologist and chronist of Colombia. He knew very well the local scenarios in Colombia and the conflict for the very beginning. He wrote down several books, very prolific sociology, but he died in 2019 by coronavirus, and he got cancer already, and then coronavirus take him. And it was a really, really hard hit for the Truth Commission. The Truth Commission became like orphan methodologically. And one of the most evidence that this tension was the person in charge of this investigation they were fired twice in 2019. And then it was so difficult to find a way and how to reconstruct this state inquiry about the violent past. And then they start with a diagnosis. They call it the map of the wind map, in reference to this sailing metaphor that they need to know in which direction the wind was blowing in this process, and to find out which actors in the territorial level and the distance of these actors and their opinion with these actors with the Truth Commission and its process, and also with which allies, stakeholders they have in the territorial level, and also international level, national level, everything. But the problem here was that this diagnosis was meant to be right down in the headquarters. HQ said, you territories, they created 11 territories, and every single commissioner, they were 11 too, was in charge of every single one of them. And then the territories, they pushed, they said, no, we are not going to do this in that way. We know better the local contexts. And then we need to write down this diagnosis, not just you technocrats in the capital, in Bogota. And this create a huge tension, and they make a huge meeting in the end of 2019 and said, okay, they agree on something and they change the diagnosis. The diagnosis was already done by the headquarters, but they have this tension and they say, we're gonna change everything. Okay, you also, the territorial, you are going to be researchers as well. And then they start to write down the report, and there's a second tension here methodologically when they start to write down the final report. Then they said, okay, we need to create these topics based on the mandate, 13 points that describe which topics they are going to clarify about the conflict since 1958 till 2016. And then they said, okay, we have this topic, for example, state responsibility, drug trafficking, they have internal displacement, this kind of topics. And then they were working, analyzing, and writing down partial reports. But they realized something in the territories. And again, this tension, top-down, bottom-up tension. And then they said, it's strange that we are not, we don't find easily to fit these testimonies that we are collecting at the same time that we are writing down the report, because the testimony, they don't fit to these core topics. They call it núcleos temáticos. These core topics were really interesting. They explained the conflict, but the testimony, they couldn't put it, they couldn't fit in this report. And then they said, we have a problem here. We have to summon again in Bogota and change this. Again, this, the local levels and the local workers that were working with the community, with the victims, they pushed back and they said, this is not working, we summon again, and then they change it. Third methodological approach. They start to work with cases, patterns, and social explanatory context. And then this work, because they could feed the testimonies of the victims, the perpetrators, and third parties involved directly and indirectly in the conflict. And then a final tension that I would like to share with you today is the communication strategy. Here, the communication team at the local level, they create a strategy based on 4 different objectives that involve the mass marketing strategy. They adequate mass marketing strategy to sell and disseminate and communicate the partial report, the processes, the local processes to the Colombian society. And they try to standardize, homogenize this. But they fail. And why they fail? They fail because the partial reports that the local workers were sending to the headquarters, to HQ, were so diverse and so different, because Colombia is a multicultural country. The Andes region is totally different than the Caribbean and the North region. And these products, these formats were totally different. When they try to standardize this, they fail to communicate, really to mobilize people through the process. And this was also create a tension. And what is the learning here? The learning here for the future Truth Commission is we need to hear the local entities. We need a bottom-up methodology. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because people sitting in a table and thinking as a technocrat to fulfill a mandate is not going to serve as a healing process, hearing process, and also build this transitional narrative that we need to coexist in or reconciliation. And this is the way that I graph the entire phenomenon, the external tensions. Here, imagine this is a table, and truth is in the middle. Truth about what? About the conflict since 1958 to 2016. And then we have surrounding the truth, pure and impeccable, the different agendas of memory and truth from the different groups. We have the victims on one side. What they want, of course, they want reparation. They want truth and information about the disappearance, about the families being killed and disappeared by the state sometimes, by the armed, by the paramilitaries, and by the guerrilla himself. And then we have the Centro Democrático political party, extreme right-wing party with its organic head, Álvaro Uribe Vélez. And they disagree with many points, but especially, for example, to mention one is the extrajudicial executions. Execution of young people taken from poor neighborhoods in Colombia and killed. They dressed them as guerrilla fighters, and they killed them. And they put in the statistics. This is the body count doctrine fail because the soldiers, they gain rewards with these killings. But they were unable to give the numbers, to fulfill the numbers that the government wanted, and they create, stupidly, this strategy. And they call it falsos positivos. And this is a macro case that now is being judged by one of the institutions that this transitional system created, is Jurisdicción Especial para la Paz. it's a judicial, and there is another one, humanitarian, the Unidad de Búsqueda de Personas Desaparecidas, the unit for people looking for people of disappearing people. And then we have the military. They have their own agenda. The memory agenda, the truth agenda is to disseminate the idea, the soldier, the heroes, victorious heroes. Victorious didn't fit with the agreement, peace agreement. Nobody is victorious in Colombia. Not even the military, not the government. They sign a peace unless not the society. And these agendas start to pull over the truth that was in the middle of the table. And PT, the point of tension, the point of differences. And of course, this is a very dynamic scenario. There are alliances. Of course, there are militaries that they speak with the Truth Commission willingly, and also based on the evidence that the Truth Commission gathered about their behavior. But they didn't speak about in behalf of the institution. They speak in behalf of themselves. And the institution, the public force in Colombia, they call it rotten apples. They would like to recognize they recognize themselves as victims of landmines, for example, kidnapping and executions, but they don't recognize institutionally the human rights violations. And this is very problematic in a Truth Commission process. And victims, some of the victims disagree with the process. I have an example of a collective of women sexually abused and victims of sexual violence and gender violence inside the FARC. And they didn't agree with the process, and they didn't speak with the Truth Commission. They called Corporación Rosa Blanca. But they didn't attack. I barely find direct attacks from this, but the way they attack or disagree with the Truth Commission is silence. They don't participate in the testimony. They didn't. And it's strange, this is a tension that the scholars find in many Truth Commission is this is a tension that is created between the Truth Commission and the victims, because the meta-narrative speak about non-repetition, but non-repetition in an ongoing conflict, because usually this narrative, as Professor Fischer has pointed out, is they are meant to work as a closure of past violence and traumatic past. We need to become terms with the past. But the thing is, non-repetition, then the victim say, how you can come here in this little town and talk about non-repetition where the violence is still in place? It's a still ongoing conflict. And then they change the meta-narrative to improve this kind of tension, to deal with it. And they change from non-repetition to non-continuation. And it works. The victims were more willing to talk with the Truth Commission with this little change in the narrative. How discourse and narrative are very important when we are dealing with society, with a traumatic society. And this is a very common tension, and I'm gonna finish soon because I would like to have time for the talking and questions, and also Emily. And this is a very common tension within the Truth Commission. There is recognition and the need of recognition of perpetrators and victims, but also the impossibility to name it, in this case specifically by name. They address the responsible and perpetrators collectively by paramilitaries, FARC, and third parties. They have a huge problem. Maybe we can talk in the future. And this is a very common tension within Truth Commission in general, the impossibility of name and the need of recognition. And finally, what's next? The next is use all these tensions that I have found out so far and use it as an analytic hermeneutical framework and analyze the content of the narrative of this final report. I didn't read the final report yet because I am working in this context to fulfill my mind and to have these tensions very clear and determine and establish how these tensions internally and externally have been affected the narrative that they just hand over the last year and how it's going to affect how we remember the conflict. Of course, we don't have the same memory, we don't remember the same, but we need to have an agreement if we would like to pass the page of the past violence. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Not now. Oops. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and also from my side, thank you so much for the invitation. I'm very glad and honored to be here, and I feel a bit anxious. Maybe you can say it because after two great speakers, yeah, then that's me. But as Thomas, Mr. Fischer was saying, part of the master program Conflict, Memory, and Peace, and I had the incredible opportunity to be in Colombia and to go to the territory there and speak with the local people there. And it was a very touching experience. And as I was telling to Manuel before, sometimes, or always, it's hard to talk about this topic from I'm an outsider. And I don't feel the right usually to really talk about these things because I'm not from the region. But in this case, I think it's what I'm trying to do and what I was also trying to do with my thesis is specifically to give more voice to these people and to show what's going on the territory and not to be like someone that say, hey, I know everything here. I learned all the time, and I think, yeah, that's why I think it's so important to show what's going on and to, yeah, for people to know that, behind the sufferings and the pain, the communities, they are resilient, and they found so many ways to deal with this terrible past. And yeah, for me it was really the most important thing in the whole master. So yeah, I'm very glad to be here and I will try to be brief and show you what I witnessed there. Starting maybe with a brief description of the historical and geographical content, so you will see where we will be. And then, I will briefly show the main steps that the Truth Commission did on the ground. There were many, many events, but I'll try to sum them up. And then finally, what I observed was important for the community victims and also the signatories. They were also obviously included in the process. I will always use the term signatories. In Spanish is peace, firmantes de paz, peace signatories. That's the ex-members of the FARC. And at the end, the legacy, so to say, of the Truth Commission, specifically in that village, in that region. And we are located in the very south of Colombia. You can see the little red region there. This is Huila, the department of Huila, and the municipality is named Palestina. But yeah, there is another Palestina. And this is in Colombia. And this is the map of Palestina. And yeah, Palestina is one of the 37 exactly municipalities in the department of Huila. And it's kind of the municipality was established officially in 1984 And nowadays the population is about 12,000 people in the whole region, with all the veredas that are around the main, the main town, so to say, the center. And the whole area is about 220 square kilometers. And what's also interesting from the region is that the people there were coming in the past from other regions of Colombia, so it's also like the community is a mixed community, indigenous and peasants, and all these people were migrants in the past, and they came into this new territory because it was very prosperous. It is still. And what is important to say is that it's really like on the Macizo Colombiano, so it's this mountain area, but it's also between two cordilleras. I always forget the word in English. Two cordilleras, the ranges. There it is, and this is a geostrategic place because it's also very close to one of the first national natural park that was established in Colombia, the Cueva de los Guácharos. And during the conflict, this area became a very strategic place because it was easily connecting different regions of Colombia. So there was the Department of Cauca, the Caquetá, Putumayo, and that's why it was also kind of a special region, because it was a good place to cross among the other regions. And that's also why the many different armed actors come to the region. People there always said that at the beginning it was a very peaceful land, and then around the 80s, the different guerrillas came. There was the FARC, but not only, there was also the ELN. Those are all names of different guerrillas for the people that are not really, they don't know the acronyms. Ejército Liberal Nacional, M19, and they're all different guerrillas that came in a different moment in the region, and sometimes they also overlap. That's also why there was so much violence. And obviously afterwards came also other groups, paramilitaries, public forces, the bandas criminales, BACRIM, and also third parties. And that's why the population was very heavily impacted, not also the population, also the territory. That's also an important part. The nature was impacted. The Cueva de los Guácharos was impacted. There are still many mines. This is the latest number that I found on the website. It's actually from this year. It's, this is all the victims that are recognized in Palestine at the moment. You can see that the main line is desplazamiento forzado, forced displacement, but also homicides, and there were many different hechos victimizantes, so facts, different kind of violences, so to say, and people say always that there is a very big underreport number two, that they are not still being recognized into the system, but there are many more. And exactly. Speaking of what happened on the ground, before that, it's important to say that, as I was mentioning at the beginning, the people there were kind of already organized. There are two connected organization of victims. They have always tried to find the truth on their own. They were already kind of searching for the truth, and most importantly, of the desaparecidos, of the people that were disappeared. So families of the victims, the community tried to organize and already find their own truth, and that's why they got in touch with the Truth Commission in the first place. So it was not the commission in this case that went to the territory, but they they met at another event with one of their representatives, and they explained the situation, and the Truth Commission understood that it was important to work in that region too, and that's why they got at the territory in the first place. And yeah, those are the names of the two organizations, CONPASCOL, Comunidades de Paz Construyendo Paz en Colombia. This is a bigger organization. They work in many different regions in Colombia, but one of the main organizers is born and still lives in Palestine. That's why there was this connection. And they supported the creation of, it's an organization of victims, but they do many other things. Biodiversity Zone La Esperanza. They try to be a place of memory, most of all, and they try to remember, and they try to be a reference point for all the people that felt lost in the past, and they are really like the voice that, the hope, I would like to say. La Esperanza means hope in English, and they try to bring all these people together, and that's what they did with the Truth Commission, and that's why they started this process. And they started with the first encounter in December 2019. In Spanish, it's Encuentro de Capacitación. It's something like training encounter. They started trying to explain to the victims a little bit about the transitional system that was established, like explaining what was the transitional system, the mechanism, that's what we are saying now, the Truth Commission, the Special Jurisdiction for Peace, and the unity for searching the disappeared people. And so there was like training in this sense to show them what was the peace accord, what's going on, what are your rights. That was the most important point. And they started with that. And at this first encounter, there were already some representatives also of the peace signatories, and obviously there were also some tensions, but somehow they managed to talk, and that's why there was this first encounter also among the two parties, so to say, the victims and the peace signatories, and the peace signatories at this point already were willing to take responsibility of the things that happened, and after that very first encounter, they decided to go on to start a process, a longer process with different encounters and different activities, mostly. They did also different individual interviews with the families there, the families of the victims, and they decided which cases were like not the most important, but one of the problems of the Truth Commission was that they didn't have much capacity. Obviously, they couldn't follow every single case, so they tried to sum up and to bring together some cases that were most significant to the whole community. They always talk about collective reparation, collective efforts, so that's why they selected these 6 cases, and also those were obviously the families of the victims and wanted to know the truth and to search for their desaparecidos, the disappeared people. That's how it started, and then they understood that there was a lot of work that needed to be done, and they started, they did another encounter in February 2020. This is act of dignification, where they tried to dignify the victim that were not there, obviously, like to show their respect and to basically acknowledge that the things that were done there weren't right, and simply the fact that there were people from the ex-guerrilla standing there saying, I know that what happened wasn't right, and we want to take responsibility for that, and afterwards also to ask for forgiveness. was the right starting point. And people, also victims, obviously, as said, there were tensions, there were families that were angry. Obviously, you see the person that, not the same person. Maybe I forgot to say something important here. That's given the fact that the facts that happened were in the 80s or 90s, the perpetrators weren't the same. So the people standing there were taking responsibility for FARC as a whole, but nobody nobody of the present was actually the real perpetrator, because it was impossible to find out the real people, because maybe they were dead. It was too much time ago, too long ago, and yeah, most of those perpetrators are already dead. That's maybe also an aspect to take into account, but despite that, they took responsibility as FARC, as a movement, and the victims were also willing to listen to them and to give them an opportunity to speak with them. And exactly, then started this period, 2020-2021. Obviously, COVID was also a part of this period, so there were kind of some problems, but they tried anyway also to do some online sessions. But the most important things that happened here was that the victims did a course with the university, la Universidad Surcolombiana. They did also a training course about human rights and again about the system. And the result of this course were at the end a report, and the university helped the victims to write a report. It's like an 80-page report where they are explaining the history and all the histories of the different cases and the truth demands that they wanted to know. All the families collected questions for the peace signatories, and they then through the Truth Commission, they give them to the perpetrators, to the peace signatories, in order to, so they had the questions in order to answer them. And another very, very essential point is the psycho-emotional support. They did courses, not the Truth Commission itself, obviously, because they don't have the instruments to do that, but they also ask for the Ministerio de la Salud, the health ministry, help in order to have psychologists following the process and supporting the victims and the perpetrators and the peace signatories, of course. Because, as Manuel was also pointing out, when you experience such a painful truth and life, it's not easy to talk about this stuff, and you need someone that's following you, and this was essential because both sides were, felt listened, and both victims and also peace signatories always said that it was very useful also in order to talk better with the other one and to understand the emotions, and also to, basically just to know what was going on with one emotion. And at the same time, the peace signatories also did a training, in the sense that they learned how to express themselves, because they were used to a kind of language that was harmful for the victims, obviously. And via these courses, they learned how to express the facts that they knew what was happening without victimizing the victim. And they also, at the end, they also wrote a report, like an answer to the victims, trying to answer all the questions that they could find a solution. They used all the resources that they had. They asked other people that were not personally involved in the process, maybe other peace signatories that didn't want to be public, and they tried to collect all these answers and put in this report that was also given to the Truth Commission. And then Exactly. There was the first recognition encounter. As said, there were many events, and this was another one where each victim then publicly in the community was speaking about their cases and their families, and it was always kind of a way to share and to show that nobody was alone in this process, and that everybody, were experienced in some way this pain, and they were trying to, find a way ahead of this pain.
We have to look for the time.
Oh, sorry.
So that we have a bit of discussion.
Yeah. And it took longer than I thought. This is probably the most important event. That was also streamed online, so it's on YouTube, El Valor de la Verdad. Before that, there was a private one, and both sides, victims and perpetrators, decided together to do the same publicly. So it was everything was discussed, and you can see in the picture when the one on the left side is Neri, is one of the victims, and the other one is Omar, is from the peace signatories, that after they shared their truth and what they experienced also in the process, they hug. And this was not planned. They told me that everything was spontaneous, or also maybe against what they needed to do, but this is what happened. And for me I think was one of the most important and amazing part. And I will just keep some parts, but this is another event. There was also like some fun. With the Truth Commission, and I was also present, we paint the murales that it's behind. This is on the entrance of Palestine. That means territory, biodiversity in peace. And then they did also like a rad tour around the municipality, touching all the memory points, lugares, all the memory spots. And so there was not just, they tried also they found out also other way to do things together. And then the last event was in between March and April last year, and where the Truth Commission tried to make also the special jurisdiction and the Unidad de Búsqueda come also to the territory. They were also quite always part of the different events to try to kind of give them the testimony since the Truth Commission was ending the mandate. So people there wouldn't have felt that they were, alone again. There were many different aspects important into this process, but I think the most important part, as I was mentioning, was this personal touch, that what also Manuel was saying, that the local, the territorial Truth Commission was really in touch with the people. And they were always there, also after hours. I mean, it was not just a job. And this human touch that was part of the process was really the key, probably. And this is what one of the two local territorial coordinators said at the very end. His name is Andrés Restrepo. And if you look at the truth and acknowledgement process in the country by the Commission in Colombia, no other process does this. Acknowledgement is made, this recognition of responsibility, but there is no training, not our reports delivered, and this is something sui generis, something innovative about the process in Huila. And that was about the methodology. I don't know if it was a national methodology, probably not. Was simply what was happening there, thanks to the Truth Commission and the victims, obviously. And I think that's it. Thank you so much. If you have questions for now, thank you.
So thank you very much to all three of you. And these rich presentations about this process of truth-finding and search for living together again in Colombia, being cautious with this term of reconciliation, and at least we have a bit of time for discussion. So the word is yours. And maybe you can turn around, come in front of the others so that they can talk to you directly or something like that. If it is possible, I give you that. Yeah, take the seat. Ich reiche das dann immer weiter, das Mikro. Wer möchte?
I just have a general question. I wanted to know how exactly one is elected to be part of a truth commission, so to be a commissioner, just as a general question.
Thank you very much for the question. It differs by context and by time, but specifically this Truth Commission, the people who sign the peace agreement, I mean the FARC representative and the government representative and other actors like the victims, they were in the Havana, Cuba, signing the agreement, they create this election committee. And this election committee was formed for 6 members, and each member was part of an institution. One of them, for example, was part of the Universities Association around Colombia, and another one was part of the judicial system in Colombia. And these kind of very illustrative, very reliable characters were part of this election committee.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to know if the Colombian Truth Commission and its chosen methodologies are like a new reference point for current processes of this reconstruction of memories and of this past violence, and if the experts of the Truth Commission are collaborating with another international experts in this field, like an exchange of knowledges and methodologies in the international community. Thank you.
In a special case of Colombia, I really don't know, but I'm aware that the president of this commission, Francisco de Roo, is traveling a lot at the moment, and so he's sharing his experience and also probably doing a kind of job of counseling maybe to other governments, but at the moment I think basically to non-governmental organizations. We wanted to have him here, and it was impossible to give you a lecture. But it's an important question because, as I mentioned, there are so many truth commissions so far all over the world, in each continent you find them. And indeed, there is a kind of knowledge and maybe even scientific approach how to handle a truth commission being created. No, I pointed out that at the beginning, in the Argentinian case, there was no knowledge, or even almost no knowledge at all, and it was really a process of learning by doing. Within 1 year in the Argentinian case, of course, there was human rights organizations before they collected information and so on, but that was not the same as the work that did an official truth commission. And then there was a kind of, well, what as Manuel mentioned, no, what did we learn about this? And a declassification of the knowledge, and then later in, let's say, from the 2000 onwards, the United Nations, for instance, has incorporated the truth commissions as a tool, for transitional processes, no? Justice processes. So it's a kind of accumulation of knowledge, but I think I have a different point of view if you, from Anne Krüger and Stefan Scheutzger, for instance. They wrote an essay in German about truth commissions, and they said there was a kind of standardization of knowledge, and I would say no, not really. So you might use some ways of, for instance, a composition which is desired in a truth commission, or that you need translators, also ethnological translators, if you deal with different cultures in a country and so on. But the Colombian case shows that once you go to the territory, things are different, and you have to invent them. And then you need creative people that are able to manage unforeseen things, no? Like Latour would say, no? In a way of processing, then you have to be able to find new solutions. Is that right, what I said?
You're completely right. I totally agree. I call this characteristic of, and one of the works that we already published in Iberoamerica magazine from the Institute, methodological elasticity. And we have in general 3 types of truth commission. One is after conflict, the second one is after the dictatorship, and the third one is truth commission in charge of to research and specifically case like the Canadian, the search about the mass abuse from the Catholic Church to the children, indigenous children in Canada. And these 3 types of truth commission, they learn from the previous commission. It's an accumulative process of knowledge and how to behave. But of course, this methodological elasticity has to be with the context, because you have a mandate by constitution made by the government, you have independence, but also you need to adapt to this social context. And for the future commission, for sure, the Colombian Commission is special because first, because they were working in an ongoing conflict, second, in the digital era, and third, they were a very holistic truth commission. And the Chilean, the Argentinian commission in 1983, they were just looking for the disappearance, for the truth about what happened with the disappearance people. And then you have the South African commission. They were working with reconciliation and apartheid. And public, acknowledged public becomes very, very popular because of the truth commission. And you can tell when in the interviews with the members, they said, we learned a lot for the previous commission, like Salvatorian Commission and South African Commission, Peruvian Commission. These 3 commissions influenced very much the methodology of the Truth Commission in Colombia.
And maybe just a few words on a local level. Actually, during the process, they were also trying to establish connections with other communities in the region and also in other regions. And I think on the local level, and the grassroots, maybe they are trying to make connections and also to show the positive examples, to show what can work and what cannot work, maybe. And already within Colombia, and maybe it's really the hope, and maybe not at the governmental level, but I think the grassroots and maybe also civil society itself, it's trying to sharing these experiences, and that's my hope, at least, that at least at the grassroots level, this knowledge can be shared somehow. Yeah, hopefully.
Maybe one final remark as to the Colombian Commission. I was struck that there was almost no international representation in this commission. Colombians did it themselves, and they had already accumulated a knowledge how to approach, no? And then it was most important, the different disciplines represented in this commission, because they have their own way of tackling and approaching the problems, no? So anthropology, theology, what else? Juridical journalists and also social movements. They have a knowledge, no? They bring it with them.
Maybe one small last question I would have about the relation between the Truth Commission and the juridical system and the punishment. So is there impunity for people talking with the Truth Commission? Or do they have to fear to be persecuted then by the judges? And how do these two systems relate to each other? Because I think it's a very difficult relation also. And afterwards, maybe it's the last round also.
Thank you very much for the question, very, very pertinent. And when you as a perpetrator, the perpetrator was called if the Truth Commission have gathered evidence against them. But the Truth Commission is as a non-judicial institute. And the thing is, they make the testimony, the perpetrators sign up a form, and this form was passed to the judicial institution that is HEP, the Special Jurisdiction for Peace. This is in charge right now working in sentences, but these sentences are going to be diverse the time in jail. They have different type of approach, judicially speaking. None of these judges are very like a penalist, like a normal, classic judicial way of thinking in Colombia. And this is a very important point, because we don't know in the future if the people that were mentioned in the final report by name, the only case that they were allowed, the writers were allowed to mention somebody by name, is that there was already a sentence against this person. If you have already a sentence in the normal judicial system, you were allowed to mention Pablo Perez killed Juan Agustin. Otherwise, you were not allowed. And this is the thing. In the future, we don't know if, because an international court can judge these criminals in the future, because the constitution in Colombia allow this type of procedures.
Yes, that's something else we have learned in the course of the decades that have passed. In Argentina, the material collected by the Truth Commission could be used by the juridical bodies to start processes and to make sentences, no, against the perpetrators. And then in Chile, no more, because perpetrators would say, we won't talk if you make a process out of it, no? That was the problem. And in South Africa, there was a kind of negotiation, no? Truth against liberty.
Yeah, I think there is a concept that is missing, maybe, and that explains also your question, for me at least, and this is restorative justice. That's the transitional justice system in Colombia is focused or is really built around this concept of restorative justice. And what I've seen, at least in Palestine, I don't want to talk about the whole commission, but they were trying to have also a restorative approach. And for example, the Truth Commission can, as Manuel was saying, give these papers to the judicial body, to the HEP, and saying that this person has said that and that, and he or she has brought acknowledgement. He said that he is guilty, and the more acknowledgement people, the peace signatories bring into the system, the less sentence they get. And this is a restorative approach where they are trying to find a balance precisely between justice and truth, and yeah, recognition, and then for the no repetition at the end. I don't want to call it a reconciliation. That's the hope of course. And this is these sentences that Manuel was also talking about. The first one is sanciones propias, and for example, there you don't go to jail. You need to do other type of works that are restorative for the community, and you will be the perpetrators in this case that was sentenced, will be sentenced. It needs to do these works for the community, and this way is, yeah, restorative. And I think this is exactly the way how the bodies in the transitional justice system are connected.
Thank you very much. So we've seen how complex and complicated also those processes are, and how full of tensions and conflicts, of course, and contested. Thank you very much for the presentation. And the discussion. And we see
coming here, and one final remark. This picture has been drawn by Manuel.